Hello, my name's Jo. This is Joey Sewy, and today I'm going to tell you all about the things I sewed in February. So thank you very much for being there. I have got lots and lots of sewing to share with you, so I will get right on. In fact, I don't just have sewing, I have knitting, and I have thrifting and customizing / changing items as well. So I haven't even counted how many garments. I think I'm going to have to go a million miles an hour to get this done in under an hour. But I will start with what I am wearing. So the first thing is this lovely green jumper, which is clearly not a sew, but it is a knitted make. I absolutely love this colour. It is just incredible. I chose it from the colour cards that I have of what colours suit me, and I think I've got it bang on because I feel great in it and I think I look great in it. It feels weird saying stuff like that, but self-effacing only gets you so far. I like it. I think I look good in it. What can I say? It is called, I've totally forgotten. I think it's called the Tara sweater. I will put a link, of course, in my show notes, which you will find on my website, joeysewy.com, and there'll be a link to that down below. And I'll put it along the bottom. But it's a really simple sew. You knit the front and then you knit the back. There is no seaming at the arms. You can see that the garter stitch band, which is what this is called, goes all the way along both arms, one arm and then the other arm. So you knit the whole front as one kind of body bit and arms like that from the bottom up. It's a bottom up knit, so I often go for circular knits, but this is knitted flat from the bottom up. As you can see from the yarn, it's very chunky yarn. It was called, the brand is Drops, and the type of yarn is Eskimo, and I got it from a website called the Wool Warehouse, all of which I will detail in my show notes. And it's cropped, so it's quite roomy in terms of width, but it's cropped. So I've got it tucked in here, but you can see at the side how long it is. You can vary that because you're making it yourself, but it's meant to be a cropped shape and it's meant to be quite a wide shape, but then you can control that when you style it because you can tuck it in as I have here. So if I untuck it, I don't mind that. It's not the most massive, but I do prefer, especially with this skirt, which is the second thing I'm going to tell you about, but I do prefer the half tuck because you just get a little bit more shape. But you know how you like to wear jumpers. This is how I like to wear jumpers. So I will tell you about the skirt I'm wearing, the revolutionary skirt I'm wearing. Revolutionary in my wardrobe anyway. So later on this month of March, you are going to get a video which actually I've already filmed, and it's about trying out new skirt shapes. And this skirt is one of the outcomes of that. It's a denim skirt, but it's a skirt. I don't wear skirts. I don't make skirts. That's the revolutionary bit. So yeah, it's a denim skirt. If you saw my very first ever live stream that I made, this is the skirt that I was working on. I sewed it together the wrong way round, or part of it at that point. So this is the outcome of that process. I used the denim the wrong way around because I really liked how the dye had pooled. So I loved that look, and that's what I went with. So it is actually a really dark denim on the back. So there you go. It's a really, really traditional dark denim colour. It is a rigid denim. This pattern is a bootstrap pattern. I created a exposed metal zip at the back. I have not yet put in whatever I'm going to fasten it with because I haven't decided. It's either going to be a button or a hook and bar, and I haven't decided, and I needed to show you. So I showed you. Here, these look like pockets. They're actually faux pockets, and this is leather. So this design detail is part of the pattern, and it just calls this trimming, so you can choose whatever you like. And I had some leather, so I have put some leather in there. I'll see if I can get you a close-up of what that looks like. There you go. So the pocket flap, which I kind of wish I'd done some top stitching on, but I only thought of that afterwards. and then it is over the leather. I put denim underneath that because the leather, ironically, was lighter weight than the denim, so I didn't want it to be stretched out of shape or to be a different weight. So underneath this is denim as well, so I cut 2 pieces out and then treated them as one layer. And then it's got a pocket flap. You could, I guess, add pockets, but the pattern itself doesn't actually include pockets. It's intended to just be a design feature, although it'd be quite nice to have them. The other design feature that I really like is this really big oval shape in the front, which I think, if I just zoom you out a little bit, it really helps to give that hourglass shape. So it's not constraining, it has quite a big split at the back. It's not short because it is about 3 inches below my knee, which I am happy with. But I think it has a real in at the waist. It's quite narrow at the waist and it's quite high-waisted. It goes out over my hips, which is the shape I am, and then it comes back in again at the bottom, and I just love it. And it's revolutionary because I have literally never ever worn anything this shape ever before in my entire life. So it's all brand new and I really love it. So yeah, big stuff. It's a very bright day today, so I apologise about the light maybe going in and out. I'm doing my best. The next thing I'm going to show you is a thrifted top that I completely changed up. So I'm going to show you a picture of how it started. It was a very oversized but lovely and soft knitted fabric, and I wanted a white top. I knew it was never going to stay this shape, but this is how it looked when it started. And then when I'd finished, it looked like this. So much more fitted, much shorter. It's kind of half the length. I did a high-low effect front to back, and if I'm completely honest, it ended up a little bit higher than I intended, but it was, I'd cut it too short. What could I do? So the arms stayed full length. They'd started off a little bit too long. I basically cut it apart except for the shoulder seams, so I kept the ribbing at the neck completely intact because it is actually sewn on ribbing, but I was never going to get that attached again properly if I'd taken it off, so I kept that on, and the neck fitted okay, but I cut every other seam. So I cut up the side seam, I cut the arms off, I cut down the arms. Did I? No, actually I cut most of the way down the arms, but not the cuff, for the same reason, because the seam of it's a knitted cuff and the seam there is very accurately done in the factory, and I was never going to be able to mimic that. So what I wanted to do was shorten the arm, but keep that intact. So that's what I did, and I really love it. It's a real basic, but it's a basic that I needed. I didn't really have a white top. For the years of having young children, having a white top was really rather pointless because it was never going to stay white, and even now we battle with that, shall we say, that sometimes my boys are a little enthusiastic to give me a hug always after they've just eaten something that's purple or brown, or you know, and I basically get mouth marks all over my clothes. Anyway, I'm hoping I'm moving back into a white top phase of my life, but I still have to be a little bit careful. But given that this only cost me £4 and it took me about an hour, I think I can live with that. So this was a thrifted top that I really cut apart and remade, but I really love how it looks. It needs to be worn with something that's quite high-waisted, so this skirt is high-waisted. I've got quite a few high-waisted pairs of trousers. It's a shape that I like a lot at the moment, and so that's how I've been wearing it. Now, moving on, I'm going to show you another thing that I changed up. This started life not hugely dissimilar to this. At Christmas, my yoga students, the people who come to my yoga classes, very generously had a collection and gave me a gift voucher for Marks and Spencer's. So I found myself buying ready-to-wear clothes, which is a rare thing for me. And if you remember, in January I did a high street versus handmade video, and the red top was one of the things I bought, and this jumper was another thing that I bought, and I really like the pattern. And one of the things that persuades me to buy something in a thrift store or a ready-to-wear store, on the rare occasions when I'm there, is if it's a pattern that I like, because you're really never going, unless you have the best luck in the world, you're never going to find that in a sewing store, are you? So, and knitwear, which I can knit, but you can't always mimic things either. So something that is unmakeable because it's unique. And this was one of those. Blue and ivory / white are one of my core colours. I love it. If there was a rule that you could only wear one colour combination for the rest of your life, this would probably be it. But I thought that the pattern was fairly unique, hadn't seen it anywhere else. But this jumper originally ended right on the widest part of my hip, and it just wasn't flattering. It's really soft, it's really comfortable to wear, but it just wasn't flattering. So I did the simplest thing in the world, which is I cut off the bottom band. I took about 6 inches off the jumper and I sewed the bottom band back on again. So I'll give you a close-up view so you can have a little look and see if you think I did a good job. In real life, you can tell a little bit that I have, that some things happened to the bottom band compared to how it used to be. But it's good enough for me, and it is a much more wearable length for me now. Something that I did that they hadn't bothered to do in the original, but that's probably because they were doing different sizes, was I lined the line up with the bottom of these triangles. I was quite pleased with that with myself. So yeah, it was just something really simple that has made this garment much more wearable for me. Those are the thrifting things. I'm just thinking out loud. No, they're not. There is one more. But let's move on to the proper sewing, kind of garments from scratch. And I have made 2 Morris blazers by Grainline Studio. So I'm going to show you those. This is the first one. It is a grey Morris blazer. I chose to do a hook and eye at the centre front. So the shape of the Morris blazer has these shaped lapel, single, no notch, so just kind of a single collar. It's not a fitted blazer, it's a blazer that's actually made for Ponte type fabric. This is a bonded jersey which has its reverse side is this green and white stripe. So if you were to see the inside is quite interesting. I didn't finish the seams with anything other than overlocking, which you can see there. What I did do with the seams, I'll move you down a little bit, not the seams, sorry. What I did do with the jacket was I used the 3-step zigzag, which I mentioned in my, I think it was in my January favourites video, but I used that 3-step wavy stitching line to do top stitching. So the pattern does call for top stitching, but it assumes just regular top stitching. But I did wavy top stitching. I did it at the cuffs, and I also did it along the side seam, under the arm, not on the arm, but on the side body. And then it is also around the bottom here. I'm not sure how easily you'll see that. And I really like it. I actually quite like when the collar flips up as well. It looks a bit weird from the side, but you can cross it over. This is not at all how it's meant to be styled, but I actually quite like it when it does that in this particular fabric. So the jersey itself has got a tiny little foam layer in the middle. It was originally from First for Fabrics, but I bought it over a year ago. They might have some, or they might be able to advise you. They're on Instagram and they're very responsive to messages. So if you reference this grey marl jersey with a green and white stripe on the inside that has a bonded layer of foam in the middle, she'll know what you mean, because I know she's seen this on Instagram and commented on it, and she remembered the fabric, so she will know. So yeah, I really like it. I'm finding it really wearable, and it's kind of like almost like a smart cardigan. I'm struggling to find a cardigan pattern that I really like. There is one, but it's more of a 50s vintagey style cardigan that I do like. But other than that, I don't really have many cardigans, so that's why I've ended up making 2 blazers in 1 month, because I felt like I needed them in my wardrobe. So I will show you what the other Morris blazer looks like, and it's, even though it's the same pattern, it's actually quite different. Here is the other Morris blazer, And this is exactly the same pattern, exactly the same fit, but it looks very different. This is the pesky red fabric, which if you saw my fabric haul in January, I got it from Fabworks in Dewsbury. I pre-washed it and it ran all over some other fabric. I can see the sun's just gone really bright, which we've got to be thankful for, but it's also making the colours look weird. So a red Ponte, and it's exactly the same fit, but I've just pulled this across. The blazer itself is meant to be edge to edge, not across, but there's enough give in it, especially when you use stretchy fabric, to cross it over, and I've added 2 buttons because I liked having that option. I've worn it with just 1 button done up, and I've worn it unbuttoned. I prefer it on my body, I prefer it slightly narrower and done up. The Morris blazer has 3/4 length sleeves, which is easily lengthened if you want to. Couple of things about how this fits. So the Morris blazer, I made it for the first time last year, and I did a little bit of research about how it fits before I cut it out, and I read online that the arm side, this seam is quite big, and that is what I found. So the first time I made it as per pattern, and then I basically went around the armhole a second time and took a whole centimetre out, which effectively is 2 centimetres. This time I just trimmed that out of the pattern, so I took it out of the sleeve piece at the top and I took it out of the body piece at the armhole, and it has fit really well. Now I do have narrower shoulders, so potentially I need that anyway. And it's easy to do after the fact, unless you're doing fancy seam finishes, but it is pretty easy to do after the fact. So if you are going to make it, unless you have really narrow shoulders, I'd say make it and then just decide how it sits. I think it could probably stand from having a little bit of a shoulder pad in there, but it's not something I habitually put in things. But I think if my shoulders are not very square, so the shape itself helps to bring some structure, but there's no actual structure in the garment. It is structureless, really. It has got the collar. You're supposed to put interfacing on the front facing, so there's a facing here. You're supposed to put interfacing all over that. You're supposed to put interfacing at the cuffs. You're supposed to put interfacing on the back, so the back hem around here is all faced to finish it, and you're supposed to put interfacing on all of that. I didn't bother. On my first one I did, and I even used stretch interfacing, and it gave it too much rigidity. It didn't need it. So I think on suitable fabrics it's a bit unnecessary. If you are worried that you're using something that's a bit floppy or a little bit thin, then yeah, maybe interface those pieces. But on this one and on the one I've just shown you, the grey one, I didn't bother with that. I just skipped the step, and there's no interfacing anywhere in either of the jackets. So you can see that this one and the grey one, they hang slightly differently because there's just a bit more drape in this one than there is in the grey one. That's with any pattern, you're going to find variability as you make it. But yeah, 2 blazers, and I really love both of them. Next, I am going to show you something that I made ages ago, before I even had my channel, 3 years ago then. But it basically sat there, and every time I walked past it in my sewing room, it would talk to me and say, look, you like most of me, will you just change the length and then you might wear me? So this month I have got around to changing the length. This is a Kalle shirt from Closet Case Patterns. It started off as the mid-length one. So there is a version on the pattern that has quite, not a high front, but a just below hip front, and then the distance between that and the back section is about so much, so it's a big high-low difference between the front and the back. But it started off long enough to wear it as a tunic over leggings, and that's what I thought I was going to do with it, but I never wore it. I just did not like it in that style. I had worn it maybe twice, and each time I'd worn it, just not felt right. And you know what it's like, you can look at something and in theory it should work, but then you put it on your body and it just just doesn't feel right. So it hadn't been worn at all, other than those couple of times since the moment that I made it 3 years ago. And it sat there and said, will you please change my length? Will you please change my length? And finally I got round to listening. I did quite a few little jobs like that of tidying things that had been sat around in my sewing room. So it's slightly cropped. So I would still probably most of the time wear it tucked in like this. Yeah, if it was this skirt, I'd probably wear it tucked in. It's short enough that I could, I think, quite like that, quite like it tucked in all the way around actually, this one. And that was one of the things I wanted to do, because there was no way in the world you could tuck it in the length it was before. There was too much of it, and it wasn't meant to, it was a tunic. But now I can actually wear it as a separate with trousers, with jeans, with skirts. Now I have a skirt. I love the fabric. It's a shirting fabric that I got from the Shuttle even more years ago than I made this shirt, a long time ago. So it's got this stripe in it. Let me see if I can get you a close-up of the fabric. It's got a burgundy detail right down the centre of the stripe. A creamish ivory colour there. It's a really nice fabric. It's a perfect shirting weight. I did a triple line of top stitching, or is that even 4? No, look, get me, I did 4. So long ago, I don't even know what I did. Did 4 lines of top stitching around the collar, which worked out perfectly. You see, there was all these details that I'd put in that I had put lots of time into, and then I just wasn't touching the garment. It was such a shame. One of the things I do remember I did was when I was doing the buttons, I committed the cardinal sin of trying to rip open the buttonhole with a seam ripper. Can you guess what happened? I didn't have a pin at the end to stop me going, and so what I did was go, and I was this buttonhole, and you can probably just about see, don't know, I can in real life, that the fabric is split just above it. And I was gutted because it was the last thing I did. But instead of crying, or possibly when I'd stopped crying, I did a zigzag all the way down to heel the fabric, and I carried it on all the way down the button band to pretend like I'd meant to do it. It's a half placket. The pocket, as you can see, I cut on the bias. The two-way stripes happen because of the construction of the pocket in this shirt pattern. The flap here is actually turned over, so when I did that, the stripes went the other way, and it was a happy accident, and I kept it that way. So this is not a brand new make this month, but it is brand new life into a make that I made a very long time ago that I simply wasn't touching. Now then, there was one other thing I made in February, wasn't there? In fact, there's 2, and one of them I forgot to tell you about. There was my special dress, and when I was doing that series, when I was doing my try on, I did try on a jacket, and I liked it, and so did lots of you, and you said, oh, you must make a jacket, you must make a jacket. I had no time left to make a jacket, but I did agree with the sentiment. So I landed unbelievably lucky, and I found a jacket in a thrift store, charity shop, which I was able to change to become quite similar to one of the ones I tried on. It cost me £7. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use the opportunity to put my special dress back on and flounce in it, and I'm going to show you the jacket. Here we are again. I've got my beautiful dress on. Thank you very much for giving me an excuse to put it back on, because I don't know when else I'm going to get one. But yeah, here we are. We have the dress on. I've left the door open. So if you haven't seen this dress, you can have an entire series of videos about it. There are 3 videos which I will link for you in my show notes and in a description box card thing. I made it for my friend's wedding. It was a wonderful experience. I love it. I want to just flounce and flow. So I won't say too much about the dress itself, because you can go and find it out. It is a bootstrap pattern, which is one of those, it's the custom sized service that I've been using. Forgot my words then. So I kind of designed, in fact no, it's not Bootstrap Patterns, is it? It's Tailor Nova. So I designed it on their website, and then it spits out a pattern that is to your size. Very clever. I could highly recommend it if you want to have something really special, or something, you know, just so exactly the details you want. So this is what it looks like without a jacket, but it was a February wedding, so I wanted something to keep me warmer, even if that was just while I was travelling. So I'll show you the jacket that I got. So the jacket that I tried on from Monsoon was a cropped jacket in kind of a blush pink. So I didn't find that colour, but actually by that point I decided that it was going to be really difficult to find just the right pink. So I'd broadened it. I would have taken one if I'd found one, but I thought I was lucky enough to find this jacket, which is quite a whitish white, I guess ivory. But yeah, now it started off life in this shape. I will show you a picture. And as you can see from the next picture, if Technology Me has put it up, I basted around and where I wanted the line to go. So I had it on several times, and I was like, do I want it like this? Do I want it like this? And I basically folded it up and pinned it. I played around. I was umming and ahhing because I didn't know if I would have time as well. I did this the day before the wedding. That's how last minute we were. But essentially what this is I chopped off the bottom of a jacket that I found in a charity shop. It's as simple as that, really. And it's a cropped length, and I think it looks really great with the dress. I think if I'd gone to the church service, which I had the option to, but it was just too far away to arrangements, couldn't do it. But anyway, if I'd gone to the church service, I think the jacket would have helped me have a different look, helped the dress be a bit more church appropriate. So yeah, I like that. I did a slight, I'm all about at the minute, all the shapes I like seem to be high at the front and a little bit lower at the back, and that's exactly what I've done here. A little bit more subtle, but it is definitely higher at the front than it is at the back. It happens to be just low enough to cover the belt at the back, which I think gives a nicer finish to the look. And I will just show you how I did it. Basically did it with hand sewing. So I cut off the length that I wanted, leaving enough so that I had something to play with, and then I hand sewed, folded it over, pressed it, and hand sewed that with invisible stitches, so that there's a hem. If I'd had a little bit more time, I might have tried to do a facing, but that was going to be a lot more time, and so I didn't have it. So cutting off and hand sewing the bottom like that is not the best way of doing it, but it is the fastest. And given that I was doing this the day before the wedding, and I didn't want to risk making the jacket unwearable, or not having enough time and stuff. In fact, you know what? I think I did it on the day, because I was only going to the evening. So I think I was cutting it even finer, come to think of it. Yeah, so I was not going to take any risk. So I just hand sewed it because I knew that that would do a good enough job, and indeed it did. So yeah, I did do a jacket, but I didn't make a jacket because I simply didn't have time. This was originally a Topshop blazer. As I said, I think it cost me £8 in a charity shop, and this is how it looked with the dress. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you coming right to the end, and I want to ask you a question. I feel like I have shown you loads. I have, because I've been very busy this month, but I haven't shown you a lot about the actual sewing of everything and the construction and all of that sewing detail. And there is also another side of things that I could potentially show you, which is about how I might wear and style the things that I've made. So in theory, my February sewing video, or my monthly sewing video, could grow into kind of maybe 3 videos, or certainly 2. One with the sewing construction detail, and one with the how am I going to wear it detail. Are you interested in me splitting it like that? I don't want you to feel like I'm milking the content, but I feel like there is actually quite a lot more that could be really interesting for me to go in, and I do sometimes get feedback that you didn't show us this, or I would be interested to know about that, and I'll always answer those questions down in the comments below. But let me know if you would appreciate me taking a bit more time to talk in detail about styling and or about construction, and if you would like one and not the other, let me know that too. So thanks for watching, let me know your opinion, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye for now.